Some of our children are being poisoned right before our eyes, but none of us can see it, and the children can't taste it. Worst of all, it's happening at our schools. Good evening, I'm Pat Callahan.
And I'm Amanda Hill. We're talking about lead in the water. According to the Environmental Protection Agency and the U.S. CDC, even at low levels, lead can cause central and peripheral nervous system damage, learning disabilities, shorter stature, impaired hearing, and impaired formation and function of blood.
The EPA says no level of lead is safe because of these health effects on kids. And that's why Maine now requires every K-12 school in our state, public or private, to test for lead. That testing in Maine schools finishes today. Chris
Costa has been digging into this story and joins us now to explain. Chris?
Well, Pat and Amanda, the Maine CDC just released the latest results today. It says it has data from just over half of the schools in the state, 53%. So they're actually offering an extension for schools to submit their data. Now take a look at this map. This map shows how each of those schools that they have the data from is tested. Those yellow dots mean the average level of lead across every fixture, fountain, and faucet in the school is within the state's safe range of up to 4 parts per billion. The red dots mean the average level of lead is higher than 15 parts per billion. And that's the case at Pine Street School in Presque Isle. That's where Theo Feinberg goes to school. He and his family are living through this again. They just moved to Maine a few months ago after leaving Newark, New Jersey, where Theo got lead poisoning after drinking lead-contaminated water there.
Imagine knowing that you turn your tap on and that first draw of water is where the lead is most concentrated most of the time. So every morning I was giving him a glass of poison. He was 2.
A parent's nightmare.
Can you imagine waking up knowing that you had for 6 months poisoned your child unknowingly?
Danielle Feinberg had no idea her New Jersey home was contaminated with lead in the water.
I still feel so much shame, and I know I had no control, but I feel so much shame that I couldn't protect him effectively.
Now, living in Presque Isle, she's living this ordeal again. Her son, Theo, goes to Pine Street Elementary School. It's one of the dozens of schools across Maine with levels of lead in water that are above the state's safe threshold.
If you don't know, you can't fix it.
That's why Maine State Senator Rebecca Millett proposed a bill in 2019 requiring all public and private K-12 schools in the state to test for lead. That bill became law. Testing started in October of 2021. The Maine CDC makes those test results for every faucet, fountain, and fixture in a school building available to the public online. The Maine CDC considers a level of 4 parts per billion a level of concern.
Before this, we didn't know what was out there. We need to know where it exists, and this will give us a really good picture of the entire playing field.
The latest test results show schools with levels in certain fixtures in the hundreds and even thousands of parts per billion. But there's an important caveat.
It represents the worst case scenario.
That's because there are 2 types of tests. A first draw test, where staff let water sit in pipes for at least 8 hours, and then test those first 250 milliliters. That usually leads to results with high numbers. There's also a follow-up flush test. That's where staff run the water in a fixture for about 30 seconds and then test it. That flush test helps figure out where the lead is coming from. It's closer to what students would consume while at school. Remember, the Maine CDC said 4 parts per billion was the level of concern? More than 1 in every 4 fixtures in Maine schools had a level of 4 or above. In the town of Milford, Dr. Lewis S. Libby School is the only school in the district.
I, at first, was pretty shocked. And as you can see, underneath this sink here, you can see the new valves that were replaced.
Facilities Director Adam Moore says almost half of the school's fixtures needed to be replaced. Locking off those fixtures and getting right to work replacing them became his top priority.
Well, where all the food is prepared right here, this is the first thing. So if their food's getting lead put into it because of being washed or rinsed or cooked in it, and then the kids are eating it, it's just as bad as them drinking it right out of the fountain. It's a lot for parents to see their kids go off every day, and they're trusting us to make sure that they're safe and healthy.
The district also applied for and received federal funds to fix those lead-contaminated fixtures. That money helped offset the thousands of dollars it cost.
That's something that we couldn't in clear conscience wait on. You know, budgets aside, we need to make sure that we have water in the building for our staff and students.
But larger districts have higher costs.
I couldn't imagine.
In Lewiston, every school in the district had multiple unsafe fixtures. And the large population of parents who do not speak English there had another wrinkle in understanding this problem.
No, I panicked, and then I thought about the child's life and all the problems that I saw, and because it's risking the child's whole life, and it was very scary.
New Mainer's Public Health Initiative Interim Executive Director Hibo Omer says the lead problem is more pervasive in poorer communities.
Because of our circumstances, we see the school as a safe haven, and hearing that broke my heart. The social determinant of health is real because many people live in homes that are leaded. They're paying a lot of price for it, and they're not aware of the problems that those lead paint can cause to the children.
Doctors in Maine now must screen for lead poisoning in kids ages 1 and 2. Before, it was only recommended if the child showed signs. The 2019 law made it a requirement.
So this is a process we were familiar with, but we were falling behind. We weren't testing enough children.
Dr. Genevieve Whiting is a pediatrician with Maine Medical Partners and the secretary of the Maine chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. She says the new testing requirement is good, but has some limitations.
But that really only identifies the children who are already being exposed to lead.
The problem? There are no treatments to reverse the effects of lead exposure. Health impacts like drops in IQ, inattention, hyperactivity, and aggressive behavior. Testing of school drinking water fills a needed gap.
Our school-age children were not routinely testing, and so if they're having ongoing exposure past that 1 and 2 years of age, we may not identify it. We're not screening those children, so we don't find when there are clusters of elevated lead levels that relate to an exposure like through a school. So finding that source is crucial. If you remediate it in that one place, those hundreds or even thousands of children benefit from it.
But the law does not require schools to fix any of the unsafe lead fixtures. Why? Because Senator Millett said that costs money, and funding those fixes requires either 2/3 of each chamber approving the requirement or funding more than 90% of the costs of remediation. Our hope is that once a district tests and receives any concerning results, they'll do what is best for students and educators, Millett wrote in an email.
It's not enough to hope that something must be done until somebody does something.
Danielle Field, like schools, must be required to fix any unsafe fixtures, saying it could prevent thousands of kids from needing special education like Theo does.
It is crushingly lonely. It is crushingly lonely, especially in the early stages, because we couldn't go to play dates. When we went to the park, we'd have to leave after 15 minutes because he'd be melting down, and none of it is his fault. And he has, with the appropriate services that I think every single child that has been lead affected should receive, he has grown to be a wonderful, kind, sweet little boy, but he really needed the help.
So as we mentioned, the Maine CDC is giving schools an extension to submit those initial results. A spokesperson says so far 53% of those schools have submitted at least one result. 74% have requested the test kits. Now, the agency reported a high influx of samples in recent weeks that's causing a bit of backlog at the lab. Now, parents, if you go to our website, you'll find a link to the latest round of testing for the fixtures in every school that has submitted results so far. Pat and Amanda.
Chris Costa, thank you.